I don't see it live, which is what, okay, we are live. We
Yeah,
are.
I see it. It came up on mine.
Also live. I got nervous. That's why I stopped, because I'm like, what's going on? So anyway, hello everyone. I'm Amanda Marie from Wicked Smart Wellness, and you're watching Stay Smaht. Today I'm talking to Christina Gravina from Bridging Independent Living Together.
Hi everyone. So happy to be here today.
Thank you so much for joining us. And just like any other day, I want to start with talking about your nonprofit.
Okay, great. So my nonprofit, Bridging Independent Living Together Incorporated, I started May 2019. And basically, I started this after years of working in the nonprofit sector. My first job actually was at a special needs summer camp when I was 16. And very quickly from there, I started working in group homes, working in management as group homes, overseeing group homes. And then ultimately, I decided I wanted to start my own company that I could make a more quality, diverse service for people that were looking for it, and kind of make more of a partnership with families that hadn't been seen before.
That's awesome. I love that. That's honestly so sweet. You started so young.
Yeah, you know, I really felt very passionate about working with people with disabilities. My first job was kind of a whirlwind to be thrown in with people that have, you know, autism, Down syndrome, taking them out to various places, swimming lessons. We did sailing lessons too, which was, you know, that was something very interesting to try. So why I really wanted to start this company was that I noticed there was a need for more specific individualized services. The models right now that are out there, a lot of times what happens is that the individual needs to fit into the service model. The service model is not meant for the individual. So for example, someone might need help with just cooking, but a lot of the services they have right now, you can't just come in and help somebody cook for, say, an hour a week. It might have to be something like they come 5 days a week, they need to do cleaning, they need to work at least 3 hours, these sort of stipulations that really take away from the flexible services that could be offered for the person. So I made them.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. I mean, the thing is, I feel like a lot of us take for granted the fact that some of the things that we do throughout a day feel so simple, and they're not simple for everybody. So it's really cool that you have found a way to make it so that, like, even if you don't need the help every day, or if you just need it in certain areas, you're finding ways to make that possible, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, so that's our biggest goal, is to really meet with the family, see what the family needs, instead of telling them this is what you need, actually asking them what is it that you would like to see. So our services range from, we have some people that are 40 hours we're with in schools or on the work sites volunteering. Then we have other people that we might see them only once every couple months when they really need to have someone come in there and help them with their cleaning, or maybe they need overnight care because their family is going out of town. So we really try to make it individualized for every person. It's really hard for me to set prices, set schedules, things like that, because since my services are so diverse, it's really based on the individual, their behaviors, their needs, and then how much of those needs that we can help them with.
I think that's so awesome. I mean, inclusion is so important, and the fact that you're finding ways to, like, individually help people, I think is opening doors, opening the doors for so many people. And I love hearing that. And I mean, you took something that you already liked to do, which was help people with disabilities, and you started your own thing. Like, you built your own thing out of it, your own business, your own nonprofit, which we were kind of, one of the first things we were going to start talking about was starting and running a nonprofit. So kind of like what you and I had chatted about on our own, why don't we talk a little about what a nonprofit is?
Okay, so a nonprofit company, the biggest difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit company is that a nonprofit doesn't have shareholders, essentially. So a nonprofit, all of the money you make that year has to go mostly back into the company. So when people hear this, you know, their first kind of thought is, how does a company survive if they can't make money? You can still make money with a nonprofit, but the difference is that we're putting that money back into the company. So employee salaries, infrastructure, technology, things like that, to really enhance the lives of the individuals we're serving. One of the other big differences between for-profits and nonprofits is that we have a board of directors. So I'm the president and CEO, but we also have a board of directors that help us make decisions. This is different than a for-profit company because a lot of for-profit companies, they might have paid directors. Ours are all volunteer. And the for-profit company, a lot of times they'll have the shareholders involved. So that's essentially what a nonprofit company is. What I've found a lot too with nonprofits is that there's always a mission. So people that tend to work in nonprofit sectors, they're very passionate about what they do. The nonprofit is made to specifically help with, you know, some sort of humanitarian crisis usually. So it's definitely a different sort of feel than a for-profit company. Another big difference is how we get money. Nonprofits, we do a lot of fundraising, we do a lot of private donations. We try to get people to maybe sponsor us, we do grants. Whereas a for-profit company, they might do more like loans, you know, talking to investors, things of that nature.
That makes sense. That's really cool. And I feel like that's one of the things is for a nonprofit. I think a lot of times you usually see that the people involved usually have a million other things that they're doing too. Like I'm sure this isn't even your full-time job, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I actually am, I have another job that I work. I'm getting basically internship hours and I oversee group homes for behavior plans. My goal is to become a BCBA and to pass my exam, hopefully by June is when it's probably going to be that I'm taking it. But yes, so nonprofit and where I'm getting my internship hours is also a nonprofit. So nonprofits, definitely you have to have a lot of passion because my day starts with helping people with disabilities and it ends with helping people with disabilities. So mostly my days are sometimes 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. really, you know, and I don't get tired. That's the thing. I might have ADHD or something myself because I'm constantly going and I enjoy what I'm doing so much that it seems like I never kind of run out of gas.
That's amazing. Well, I can tell just from talking to you how passionate you are. Even aside from this interview right here, the first time we connected, I was just like, ooh, I need to get this girl on my show because I love what you do. And I honestly think that's incredible. And the fact that you are so driven to give and help is something that you don't see often enough. And to see it on you, like, just thank you. Thank you for giving back to the community the way you do. And I think this is incredible. And I love that you are building it and bringing attention and awareness to such an important area, really. And that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's definitely awesome. I'm always thinking of, you know, I'll go to bed and I'll think to myself, what are things I can do that could really be different that we haven't seen before? Sometimes, you know, I'll wake up, put something in my phone at 3 a.m. and go back to bed like a psychopath. But definitely, you know, there's a lot of room to grow in this sector particularly, and there's a lot of room for thinking outside the box and instead of putting limits on people, seeing what we can do to really help them achieve their highest potential.
That's so awesome. And just, I'm honestly like, when I hear things like this, it gets me excited because it's like, I just love knowing, like you're talking about how you're so passionate, like your day job, your night job, your nonprofit, it's all a whole day of literally helping people is what you do. And it's just incredible. And when you see that passion, that's what I want to spread awareness to. And that's why I do this talk show, because you know what, if this can show even just another handful of people what you're doing and help them get involved somehow, I think that that's really cool. So I kind of want to take that and jump into how can people get involved with what you do?
So there's a lot of ways that people can get involved with what we do. We have a couple big fundraisers every year. So virtual 5K we've had this past December, we actually did virtual visits with Santa, which was a big hit. Santa was pretty cool. And his elf, Snowflake, was pretty awesome too. So any fundraisers we have is a big help if people come. Donations are a big thing. If someone even supports us on Amazon Prime and they select us as their charitable organization, it's no extra cost at all to them. It's called Amazon Smile, but they'll give us a percentage free to the person of anything that that person buys. So that's really a really awesome way that people can help us without spending any sort of money whatsoever.
I've actually never heard of that. So thank you so much for sharing that. So it's called Amazon Smile.
Yep, Amazon Smile. And so all you have to do is go in your settings and it will ask you if there's a charitable organization, and you can pick any certified nonprofit in order to get a little bit of a donation from Amazon every time you buy something. So that's really a great avenue for donations.
I'm like blown away by that. Everyone needs to know about this. And I personally am someone who I do what I can to support small businesses. I buy from as many small businesses as I can, support them, but I, of course, am a huge Amazon person. So that is going to be one of the first things we do after this episode. I'm going to have to check out that section. So if you guys are tuning in or watching the replay and you love Amazon and you get a lot of stuff from there, go check out those settings and switch on Amazon Smile and click on...
So you would click on Bridging Independent Living Together Incorporated or BILT Inc. But if you also go to our website, which is www.biltne.org, we also have the link right up on there so that you'll be able to click that, and then that will bring you right to the page. So that will be under our donations page on our website.
Perfect. Good to know. Thank you so much. And for those of you, obviously, like when it comes to fundraisers, donations, nonprofits, anything whatsoever, it's obviously not expected for you to donate. If you can't, you can't, but you could always still share and bring attention to it. So if you, if this is something that you guys are interested in, then maybe you could check that out, post something on your page about it, and other people, let's just spread the awareness, because I think that's pretty amazing that that's possible to do. I didn't know that that was a thing. And I'm actually, as you can tell, excited about it. So cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome, that the Amazon, and actually one of the best things too about the donations for a nonprofit is that it's all a tax write-off. So anytime we do get a donation, it's tax deductible for your personal taxes, which is pretty cool as well. It's kind of, you know, you get to help someone out, but you also get a little back yourself.
That is really cool. I love that. So speaking of, we were talking about like running, because you literally started your own nonprofit, which is incredible. And we were going to kind of talk for the people here who may want to start or run their own. And I like that we kind of distinguish the difference between the two of them. So do you have any tips about how to actually like get one started and how to go about running one?
Yeah, so getting one started, the biggest thing for me is that you have to make sure that you're ready to really be married to your idea. You really need to make sure that you're ready to invest in it. You're ready to work on it. When you own your own nonprofit, there's really not a time where you can say, oh, someone else can do this, because there really isn't somebody else to do it. The other suggestion is to make sure that you get a great board of directors. The board of directors for a nonprofit is really something that can make or break you. So my personal nonprofit, I have on there a registered doctor, I have a parent, I have a lawyer, I have an engineer. So nonprofits board of directors, they really, they meet, they give you advice, they give you insight, they can find new ways for you to get revenue when you might be stalling a little bit. And they also can reel you back in if sometimes you have this great idea that you just think is so wonderful, and they might say, you know, hey, let's talk about this a little bit more, or, you know, maybe we can do this next year, but let's do it in a different fashion. So I'm all about the teamwork and about really just having, you know, as many people that want to be involved to help me can. So, you know, that's the thing, is I'm very open to suggestions. I'm very open to changing services, making new services, looking at new avenues. So the board of directors really has been for me an ideal thing to have.
Oh, that's really cool. That's good. And it sounds like you have that, like you're keeping it super diverse, which I think is awesome. Yeah. And it's nice. Like you said, sometimes you do need to hear from someone that, as great as your idea may be, you know, like pump the brakes and ease into it. Trust me, I know. As you can probably tell from what I do, I'm a bit all over the place with like a million different things, and it's all stuff that I love, and it's all ways that I want to try to help people, but you can't do it all at once. So it's to have other people there with you for that support. I'd love to hear that. So speaking of though, now we talked about the team a little bit. Yeah. And kind of you mentioned like sailing and some of the cool things that you were saying that you've done. So I thought it would be cool to kind of ask about like maybe some of the, like a couple examples of some of the things that you may do like now that you have done, what you might be coming up in the future.
So we have done, so our biggest thing that we work on is really kind of job placement, volunteer placement. We have a lot of individuals that fall between the ages of 18 and 22. So for anyone that isn't aware of disability services, people with a disability or on an IEP, they don't actually graduate from high school until they're 22 years old. So a lot of things that an IEP is an individualized education program, and that's for anyone that has a disability. So it'll be modifications that they need for their school. So what happens a lot is between 18 to 22, kids are still in school, but this is really the time where people start to focus on vocational skills, on job skills, things like that, independent living skills. After 22, we have quite a bit of individuals as well, because after 22, when school stops, a lot of parents kind of refer to this time as the cliff, because it feels like their whole life they've had a lot of services up until this age, and now at 22 they might go to a day program, or they might have a residential house they're living in, but the other services like working on those skills, fine-tuning those skills, learning new skills kind of goes to the wayside. Obviously, I'm a big believer that people can grow, they can learn, they can continue to learn throughout their whole life. So a lot of the families and I share the same idea that services shouldn't just stop at 18 or 22. They should continue throughout this person's life, and it can help them. So some of the things that we've done is with the little ones, we've worked on things such as helping somebody learn how to potty train, which can be something that's very difficult with an individual with autism, whether it be for sensory issues, whether it be it's just frightening for them because there's this big hole in the ground and they don't know what they're supposed to do with it, to we've actually helped other people get job placements at TJ Maxx, and we work with them at TJ Maxx a couple of days a week, helping them out with that, but they're making a paycheck, which is amazing for them. For the future, we really are focusing on getting a wheelchair accessible vehicle. This will allow us to expand our services immensely to people that have, a disability that requires them to be in a wheelchair. So then we can then drive them around and do the same activities with them that we do with other people.
That's awesome. That sounds incredible. And as you're like saying all this stuff, I'm getting excited because I love that I met you, because now I'm like, I can't wait to figure out what I can do to help. This all sounds awesome. And I think that your goals are so just genuine. And the fact that they're so necessary is just, it's the fact that you're prepared to make a difference. And that's what you're doing. And I think it's incredible. And with that being said, like one of the things that we're talking about here is providing quality services for people with disabilities, which I think most people want to be able to do. It's just that unfortunately not everyone thinks about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not something that they need in their everyday lives. And I don't like, if for those of you listening or watching, I'm not saying it's wrong that you don't, but we should try to. So please tell us a little bit of how we can do that.
Well, first of all, one of the things that we do a lot is we do workshops. So we do, if someone wants to know more about this, we come out to different schools, organizations. We do a variety of trainings. I'm actually a CPR first aid instructor. I also teach sexuality and sexual health for individuals with disabilities, which not very well known about, but it is something that comes up quite a bit that people need help with. So when it comes to creating a more positive atmosphere for people with disabilities, the biggest thing I can say is treat them like they're a normal human being and assume that they are competent, even if they are displaying outward signals that they're not. One of the biggest things I tell people when I'm training them is that there could be someone that is spinning in circles and, they can't necessarily make words out to speak to you, but there's nothing wrong with their mentality and there's nothing wrong with their comprehension of what's going on in the situation. So the idea of just because someone, might not outwardly look like they can understand, it's really, really bad to not understand that they do comprehend what's being said to them. So that's the big thing. And the second thing is make sure that you acknowledge them as a person, because the amount of times I will bring someone to a restaurant, for example, and someone will look at me and say, what do they want to eat? It's like, I don't know what they want to eat. Why don't you ask ask them. Like, so it's just one of these things where off the bat, they're assuming they don't know. And it's like, maybe they can't answer you within 15 seconds like I can, but if you give them 30, they sure can. So, I mean, really kind of understanding that they are, you know, they come to be adults. That's one big thing. People think that when people get older, you know, that they're not adults, even though they're an adult body, they are. And always assume that people can comprehend what you're saying, because most of the times they definitely can, or they can at least understand the tone of what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. And especially because, and this goes for honestly any area of life, whether someone has disabilities or not, it's like awareness, like have some awareness, like don't, like as a person, it's like you should realize that unless someone kind of expresses that they do need some type of help or that they can't answer something on their own, I don't think it's fair to assume that they can't.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, it goes for even the best, you know, the most well-meaning, even caregivers, for example, you know, they might go in and help someone get dressed without seeing if they can get dressed first. And the thing is that they might be able to only do, you know, a quarter of it, but at least giving them that chance to try to do it before you go in and help. So I always say, you know, there's a big difference between caregivers or PCAs and then me and my staff who we're skill builders. We're skill trainers. We help people build skills. So that's the biggest thing I tell people when they ask, you know, what's the difference between you and a babysitter? A babysitter is there to make sure that, you know, the house doesn't burn down and you're okay. We come in and we really make sure, like, what can we do? Is it, if it's companionship, if it's because they want us to take this individual out in the community to get to, you know, have them have a friend, that's fine. That's still a valuable skill to have, but it's really important, you know, to kind of understand these general concepts.
No, that makes complete sense. And I think it's really awesome to even just hear that out loud, because you know what? It's something that I think most of us and I can't speak for everyone else, I can only speak for myself, but just generally as people, I think it really is hard sometimes to, like, if it's something that doesn't affect you directly, we kind of forget. And the thing is, that's not fair to people. We have to try to be aware of how we're affecting others. And I think the fact that, like, simple things like this, to hear these things, like, to hear about, you know, I mean, I gotta say, like, I personally have always kind of felt this way without being told, that when I approach someone, when I've seen people with disabilities, of course you want to be kind, you want to help. Like, you see someone that looks like they may need help and it's easy to want to just help. And of course it's kind to want to do that, but it's also kind of offensive to assume that they need it when they're not expressing that. So what do you think the best way to approach it is? Like, for example, when I was in college, there was someone there and he was an older man who must have just come back to school. Like, it was one of the sweetest things I've ever seen, because he was like probably in his 60s. Mm-hmm. He was blind. So he was walking and he couldn't see and he didn't know which way to go down the hall. And you could tell he really just wanted to figure it out on his own. But it turned out like he did need help. He ended up needing someone to walk him to his class in order to get there, because he didn't know where he was going. Mm-hmm. Now, the struggle for me in that situation was, how do you ask for help? Luckily, what ended up happening is a teacher was kind of in the area and was like, hey, like, can anyone help him? So I was able to be like, yes, like, I can. But I, you know, it's like that awkward moment. So how do you suggest approaching a situation like that? That way you're not being offensive and assuming someone's incapable, but you're also there if someone does need you.
So I think a big part of it is approach, you know, and this is something where I've been in a lot of situations in the public where I feel the same way, you know, like, I don't know this person, but it appears that they need help and I'm naturally a helpful person. So the way that I typically go about it is kind of ask someone like, hey, do you want some help with that? You know, and say it in a way that I don't sound annoyed, you know, I don't sound like they're putting me out, compared to, you know, saying to someone like, oh, do you want me to open that door for you? You know, like, they're kind of like two different ways to say it. Like, once, like, you kind of are like rushing that person. The other one is like, you genuinely want to help. Another big thing I would say too is, if people just want to help in general, please do not put shopping carts in handicap spots or park in the white lines in the handicap spots. Because coming from someone that has driven a wheelchair van for many, many years, it is so difficult to take someone out of a wheelchair van when someone is parking in the white line spot, or if someone is if someone has put shopping carts there now, you've created a really dangerous situation. So it's really important to make sure that if you do have your cart, you know, just put it away, so that if it, don't put it in the handicap spot, because that's something that's happened a lot and it's definitely been an issue.
No, you know what? I appreciate you saying that, because guys, I gotta say, in general, be kind. Don't just put the shopping cart back anyway, because someone's got to go and gather all those and get them back in the store. So I love what you're saying, because the awareness of the lines in the spot, they're not there just to be there. They're there because it helps make it handicap accessible. So don't follow those lines. So I appreciate you pointing that out. But I gotta say, shopping carts not back in the shopping, that little cart area, is literally a pet peeve of mine. So the fact that you brought that up it just goes to show, sometimes it's as simple as the person who's working in the store, it's a lot of extra work for them that you don't need to create. And sometimes you're genuinely affecting the accessibility of someone's life. So it's something that simple.
Yep, and that's really all it is. I'm a big believer in the shopping carts too. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with the handicap spots, you know, just put them back.
Like, you already got it this far, just please, but you don't even have to bring it back into the store. They gave you this spot here so that you don't have to go all the way back in the store. Like, just come on. But I don't know, that's just, it kind of brings attention to the idea of overall kindness. And like I mentioned before, awareness. And like you said, it's important in life in general. And when it comes to, like, I mean, we've heard it since we were kids: treat others the way you want to be treated. And the thing is, you don't want to be treated differently than anyone else either.
Yep, and that's a big thing, you know, we're so big on inclusion for that reason. I love services that are catered for people that have disabilities. Those, of course, are great, you know, disability, you know, friendly dances, or organizations that put on events particularly for people with disabilities. But I'm also a big believer that all of our individuals need to be in places that are not meant for people with disabilities as well, to really have the whole inclusion aspect of it. So I'm a big believer of, I'll bring people to a regular dance, you know, for regular teenagers, and we might get a couple looks a couple times we go, but by the end, you know, the individual I bring ends up being the king of the dance, the queen of the dance, because they're so fun and they have such great dance moves. And they have such an amazing personality. So it's definitely really something that when I bring people into inclusive activities, I love being able to teach the community when they're there of, yes, they might be a little different, but they still want to be here and they love doing this activity too, and really making some nice friendships from that.
That's amazing. I honestly love that. And again, I keep saying it because I truly mean it. I think that this is awesome. Like, I really do. I think what you're doing is awesome, because it is so simple to, like you said, to make the situation easier, like just trying to find that quick fix, like where it'll be easier for anyone. But like you seem to go out of your way to pick, like you do extensive things that people do in their everyday lives, and you take people who may have a little bit of a challenge with that and you introduce them to it and you help them get through it.
Yep, and we're always doing things like that. During COVID, it's definitely been a challenge to try to find some activities that we can do, but we've been making out okay. Thankfully, we have some really great volunteer opportunities right now through Cradles to Crayons, which has been awesome with letting our individuals come in person and participate. But that's definitely something we're always on the lookout. So if anyone ever has any volunteer opportunities, we'd love to bring our individuals to volunteer. So we used to go to dog shelters, to food pantries. We used to do this thing called Lex Eats in Lexington, setting up a dining room and preparing, you know, a meal for the homeless population. So anything like that, these individuals truly love giving back as well, because it helps add to their self-esteem and their values. So any volunteer opportunities, please let me know.
Oh my gosh, if you see this look on my face right now, the reason is because you have not only set up a nonprofit to help other people, but you use your nonprofit with the people that you're helping to help more people.
Yes.
Incredible. The world needs more you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is awesome. So with that being said, I do want to talk about, because you mentioned, for example, like taking someone to a dance and how they start at the beginning, like it could be nervous. Some people may even give you looks. And by the end, like it's a big party, everyone's having fun and they're the king or queen because of how amazing their personalities are. So what are some other ways that we could set up positive environments for people with disabilities? So when I say positive environments, I'm looking to touch upon whether it could be public settings, fundraising settings, or even just like private events, the workplace, anything like that.
So setting up positive environments, the biggest thing is, first of all, make sure that, you know, it's well lit, that it's accessible, that people can get in there, because just having all the experience of working with people that have issues with walking or stairs, it's really hard for someone to have a good time coming into a dance or something like that if they know that they have to go down 5 stairs after, when the 5 stairs might be something that they can't do. We've had many instances where we actually just take a couple staff and we just lift somebody in their wheelchair right over the 4 or 5 steps to get into some place, because we still want them to attend. So accessibility is always huge. Another thing that's really good for setting up positive environments in general, it's letting people know kind of what the expectation is. So in a nice way, you know, sometimes when you're working with someone with a disability, they might not know the social norms of the event that you're going to, and not knowing those norms is going to make them more anxious. So telling somebody something like, we're going to a wedding, it's very expected behavior to sit at a wedding quietly during the bride's first dance. After they dance, you can get on the dance floor, but explaining to people kind of social norms that they might not understand. Similar with conversations. Conversations are really hard for people with disabilities at times to be able to maintain and stay in. So if someone stutters, you know, maybe asking them a question. So if someone can't ask, you know, if someone isn't able to complete a conversation, saying to them, what are your favorite things that you like to do? Or, hey, what did you do this past weekend? Instead of leaving it up to them, because many times they'll get very nervous and shy, especially with new people. And you might just get a hi from them when that person's completely verbal, but they just need to be prompted to kind of warm up a little bit.
That makes sense. It makes complete sense. And I don't know, like I said, I feel like everything that you're saying, the number one thing that pops up in my mind is kindness, number one. Like, just try to be kind. Try to be, and again, I'm being a little redundant now. Kindness, awareness. What are some of the other one-worders that I've been throwing out there that we could give? Positivity.
Patience is a good one. Patience is definitely very much needed.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think, because it's like the coolest thing about when I talk to someone and do these interviews is I'm learning too. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting here because it's kind of like I'm taking in what you're saying, and it's things that we all think we know, but sometimes we don't know what the best way to actually make someone feel included is. And the thing is, no matter what the reason, like it's just like, I feel like if we can have it set up so that someone feels included before they even get there, obviously that's the most ideal situation.
It is. And then if you're able to set it up even more for them. So a lot of times when I work in families' homes, I'll come in and I specialize in working with challenging behaviors, particularly with people with autism. So I might have a family that's telling me that they have a child that might have self-injurious behaviors or, you know, problems with aggression. And the biggest thing that I find is that it's a problem with communication. So the environment isn't being set up for success for that individual. So things like, you know, visual aids, things like schedules, let's know what we're going to do and when we're going to do it, because often a lot of the individuals, they don't have a lot of control over their life. So the fact that they can know what's coming up, and if they can get to the point where they can say, I don't want to do that, I want to do something else, you're not going to have any sort of challenging behavior, because challenging behavior is communication. And people, they'll engage, and no one ever just does a behavior because they want to just, you know, wake up and be like, I want everyone to be mad at me today. That sounds like a great idea. Everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to be, you know, supported, respected, but it's definitely when we communicate on their level is when we can see really what they are trying to get across and what they want to do, which is the most important thing. An example of this is I used to work with an individual for years that really, really did not like the gym, but I didn't know this because every time we went to the gym, you know, he would be okay. He might put his hands over his ears, but he would get through it, maybe, you know, mutter a couple swears, but I mutter a couple swears at the gym too sometimes. So I thought it was totally good. And then I realized that I could speak to him using Disney scripts. So we would watch Disney movies, and I would realize sometimes that he would shut off the movie and he would repeat a phrase to me and point at something. So I started to understand that he was using Disney movies as a way for him to communicate with the world because they made sense to him. We went to a gym and he started talking in a Jafar voice, you know, from Aladdin, that he was not happy about the gym because, like, if there was a parrot, he would shove a cracker in the parrot's mouth. And I started realizing he doesn't like the gym. He's telling me in his own way that he hates the gym, which is so simple to fix because all we did was we just switched to outside workouts and still had the same thing. But then it got to the point where when I got to understand him, I could actually offer him, you know, do you want to do indoor Wii workout or do you want to do outdoor walk? And after that, the you know, hands on his ears, sometimes the muttering swears, it completely went away because he had no need to act that way anymore.
That's amazing. And it's so simple. Like, it's actually the thing that I feel that goes unrecognized sometimes is how incredible that really is. Like, if there's something, if you have a disability that's not allowing you to communicate the same way that everyone usually typically does, but you're finding other ways to communicate, that's actually brilliant. Like,
it is. It really is. I mean, people with disabilities and individuals with autism, sometimes the way that they communicate or they see the world, for me, it's like, I can't even imagine being able to have so many kind of sensory things going against you and still find a way to communicate and connect with other people. It's really amazing. I had another individual, one of the first individuals I worked with, and he would say stuff like, do you want to come with me to Harry Land? And I'd say, okay, you know, his name was Harry, we're going to Harry Land. And he had created in his whole land, he had a toothpaste factory, he had a Harry O'Donnell's, you know, a McDonald's, he had all these wonderful things. And the way that we could figure out, you know, what he liked and what he didn't like is if I put things in terms of Harry Land. Oh, in Harry Land, do you have any dentists? I know you have a toothpaste factory. Oh no, we don't have that in Harry Land. You know, it's just a drive-through to get the toothpaste. Okay, so maybe we need to do some work at the dentist.
That's amazing. It really is. And the thing is, it's kind of interesting, and bear with me here because this might sound a little crazy. I have this tendency to, when I'm talking about pretty much anything lately, I don't know, it's this new thing about me where I feel the need to relate us as humans to animals with a little comparison here. And the main reason I do this is because you see all of these disabilities, but the thing is, they're disabilities in a world that society has created.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that's the thing that I want people to remember. Like, it doesn't mean anything's wrong with them. It doesn't mean that they're any less intelligent than any of us. They see things a different way. And that's because, unfortunately, a script was built. Like, the world got built a certain way, and it was from like A to Z, and that was it. You were only able to go from here to there. No one really factored in for the fact that, like, people would be on different levels and different wavelengths and brain lengths and all of that different stuff. So I think it's kind of interesting because, like you're saying, like, they find different ways to communicate. Like, that's really smart, because I know people without disabilities who lack the proper way of communicating, like those who, like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's kind of interesting.
No, it definitely is. And I mean, that's actually my degree, ABA, for the test I'm going to be taking, the board certified behavior analysis exam. That's actually what the basis of it is that behavior is observable. Behavior can be measured in humans or animals. And, you know, behavior has a reason always. Behavior isn't just some, you know, random construct that happens for no reason. There's always a reason. There's almost always a pattern. And since there is a pattern, there's a way that you can change that behavior, usually by increasing other skills so they don't have to do that, you know, whatever the behavior is you're trying to change. So if someone yells, for example, when they're hungry, teaching them to say that they're hungry instead of teaching them to yell. So that's definitely like a big part of what we do too, is showing, working with families to say, like, what are the things we want to work with here? Let's observe and kind of measure these behaviors. Let's see when they're happening or when they're not happening. And then that way we can have a better idea of what we can do to help this person in these situations so they don't have to resort to doing these things.
And exactly, because that's my thing. Like I said, like back to, like I mentioned, I love how you kind of took what I said and gave it a more like logical description. Because like basically that was my point. Like what, like for example, one of my best friends, her dog is deaf and blind and old, honestly, like very old for a dog. And people say to her like, oh, like, well, why, like that's, you're torturing the dog. Like, no, she takes her dog to the vet. The vet said that the dog is 100% happy and not in pain. So they're like, but she can't do, like, she can't even like figure things out. She doesn't know. She literally has a different little hum and whine for like a different, like whimper, a different volume and level for when she wants to go outside, for when she wants water, for when she wants to just be picked up and get some cuddles. And the thing is, it's like that goes, I mean, babies, think about it. They come out, they start crying when they need something. And it's like, so other, like the thing is, just because people have a different way of communicating, it doesn't make it wrong. And I personally think it's on us to learn how to accept that, because just because the people who communicate a specific way, like the typical way that society is created, just because that's the norm, doesn't make it the only way. And I think it's honestly kind of a sign of ignorance if you're not willing to accept the fact that we have to try to learn to understand and give help, patience, like you said, patience. Sometimes you just need to take a moment and be like, well, what is it you need to say, instead of getting mad, instead of getting frustrated, instead of being like, well, I can't help because I don't know what you want.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing. And if you really can't help, then the thing is like, try a different method, you know, like I always try to go in with helping, but sometimes people might not know what they themselves want. And if that's the case, then distraction's a great thing. Redirecting them to another activity, telling them, you know, I don't know the answer, but I will get back to you when I find that answer out. Because again, a lot of the times with communication and communication difficulties, it's as simply as breaking it down, you know, especially with some of these strange norms that we do in societies, that it's not black and white. Even, you know, I was talking to someone not long ago and they're from England, and they were saying, you know, when I moved to America, it was so astounding to me that people would say, how are you? And I would sit down and start telling them all about my life, and they'd look at me like I was a crazy person, because I didn't realize that, you know, they weren't actually asking me how I am. They were actually just saying it as, because they've become so familiar with that. So, you know, that's a good example of someone that doesn't even have a disability, but they are from a different society where a simple 3 words, how are you, means something totally different in England than it does here.
Exactly. It's true though. And that's why, like I said, it just, we all are different ultimately, even though people do what they can to conform to the norm. Like it's different. And I think like when you can try to become, like start to begin to understand that, like I'm just imagining your friend coming in here. Honestly, that's not the first time I've heard someone say that about the whole, like it's that we say like, how are you in passing? Like, I think that is kind of wild. Why are you asking that if you don't want to know? And the thing is, like you said, and that, again, that is why I mentioned like animals, babies, because like we see things we see different as a disability sometimes too.
Yep.
And that's just like the world that we're in, unfortunately. I feel like sometimes it's hard for people to just accept that not everybody sees the world the same way. We're not all looking through the same lens, and we can't all perceive it exactly the same. So that's why, like, I feel like it's kind of fluid, because I feel like one of the things that I think about, like when I see people with disabilities especially, is anyone that I know that is like labeled as disabled are honestly some of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Numbers, words, whatever it is, like I get blown away. Like it's incredible.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of the things that some of the individuals I've worked with and the things they can do, like I've had one guy that he would just ask you, what's your birthday? And the only reason why he wanted to know, because within 2 seconds, he could tell you what day of the week you were born. And I tried this all the way back to like the 1500s, still got it perfectly. And this is someone that, you know, needed assistance in the bathroom. So again, goes to show you, needs assistance in the bathroom, but can tell you from just 2 seconds what day day anyone was born on, going back to, you know, the beginning of time, which is crazy. And then I've also had some individuals that they're very, very almost sensitive to, I know it sounds crazy, but almost like sensitive to energies around them, you know? So individuals that they might not know a death in the family happened because their family hasn't told them, but they just feel sadness, even though they haven't seen any outward signs of sadness. And that's really kind of more when I have to tell families, like, they need to know what's going on, because they know there's been a shift. They can handle the shift, but they can't handle not knowing why this shift is occurring and then still, you know, be expected to operate as normal when they know things are not normal right now.
Absolute sense. And I just feel like one of the things I love the idea. So now your name, we'll give the whole hashtag built like this. And so it's Bridge and Independent Living Together. And the thing I love about that the most is kind of just to like piggyback off of what we were literally just saying. How do I put this into like the best words that I'm trying to get at? What you're doing is you're bringing people who have disabilities, again, disabilities that sometimes are really only considered disabilities because it's not like the norm in society. And you're bringing them into society and you're helping them live like the same everyday lives that most people are living.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like with what you're doing and what we could all do, like something that we could all do to help is, let's stop treating it like it is a disability.
Yeah.
You know? Like it's a little different. So they, like you said, you know what? You don't need help going to the bathroom, but you cannot figure out what day of the week someone was born in the 1500s. Like that is so smart. Like when you said that, I was just like blown away for a second. And it makes sense. I mean, I have a good friend of mine who I went to high school with, one of the smartest people I've ever met, who he literally remembered every single stat that there was for any sport, whether it be the high school sports, professional sports, and those are numbers. That's not like, I didn't remember my own. I was on the basketball team and he would come at me with stats from my freshman year, like congratulating me. And I would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even remember that. And it's just, like, that's amazing. Like that deserves recognition of how smart, like that, like what brains you really need to be able to do that. So like, if we can start acknowledging the fact that just because someone may need help in a different area or is a little different or something might be a little bit more difficult, it doesn't take away from who they are as a person.
Exactly. And I think also just understanding that, you know, everyone is brought up and they have their own culture norms, own family norms. So a lot of times people get stuck in this box of, you know, what things should be or how things should be going, instead of really understanding that there really is no way of how things should or shouldn't be going. You know, when I go and work in a family's house, they might have a complete different culture than mine. They might have a complete different religion and different expectations. And it's not my job or my place to tell them any of this is right or wrong, because personally, I don't really care. I'm there to help them with the individual and what the individual wants and the individual needs. So I always tell people, you know, this idea of what things should be don't have to always be that way. And the idea of, you know, someone needs to go to bed at 8 o'clock specifically because they're 7. Well, guess what? People with autism typically have a hard time sleeping. So if that parent decides that they can't go to bed until 11 and it's because otherwise they're going to be up at 3 in the morning, that's okay. You know, that's what's best for their family, and they're not a bad parent. They're a great parent because they're actually doing what's best for their child. But people are very quick to say this is right and this is wrong, instead of saying, well, no, there's quite a bit of gray area in the middle here that, you know, it's both. Maybe could they want to, you know, do we want them to be in bed earlier? Yeah, it would be ideal, but the way that things are, it's not going to happen. So let's just do what's right for them.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. That's what I feel like what it all kind of falls back on is we got to stop looking at the world as just black and white. Like there is so much more to it. And like you said, it depends on each, honestly, the way I look at it is you can even have a family of 5 and you still have 5 different individuals in that house. Yeah. Everyone is different and everyone has different needs.
They did. Yeah,
passionate about it.
Yep, and that's the exact thing, you know. Sometimes even I work with families where there'll be two individuals in one family and they have different disabilities. And one of the reasons why families like this love our services so much is that when we come in, you know, they'll say something along the lines of, oh, I'm sure, you know, both of them have to follow the same service. And I say, no, they don't though, you know, because that's crazy. Why would we have two people that have two different sets of goals and skills do the same exact program? You know, one person needs one set, the other person needs another set. And that's the way that we can be able to really customize and help them buy into the program so that they can become more independent and achieve their own goals.
Oh, that's what I love about what you do the most. The fact that it's unique and individualized, honestly. I think that that's so important. And for, again, to those of you watching or listening, take that in every area of your life, whether it be someone with disabilities or someone without disabilities, or someone with society's views of disabilities or non-disabilities. I could even still say, like, no matter what it is, that's something to always remember. Everyone is unique in their own way. And we all need different versions of help and different forms of needs. And we all have different goals, like you said. And I just think it's really important to, again, treat others the way that you want to be treated, whether they are the same as you or not.
Exactly. Yep. Definitely. That is always the biggest motto, is making sure that everyone, you know, feels respected, no matter what that respect is for them, making sure that everyone feels happy with their choices, happy what they're working on. And then, you know, like, again, you know, I hate to say it again, but kindness and patience always are the best bets.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I love it. That was kind of our theme for this whole thing. Kindness, patience, awareness. I love to keep bringing that up because, like you said, you brought up in case someone's just tuning in now, the shopping carts.
Yes, the shopping carts. Put them away.
Yeah, put them away. You're affecting so many different people, and it could be the person who's working, or it could be someone's actual legit life that you're making just 10 times more difficult for no reason whatsoever. So think about the shopping carts in other areas of your life too. Think about the little things you do in a day. And sometimes, like, it takes like that one extra step to just like not inconvenience someone else.
Exactly.
And, yeah, like that's the thing. I feel like one of the like biggest tips that I can kind of throw out there is, if you're thinking about something, if you're feeling inconvenienced by something, think about how you ignoring that think about whether it's going to make it 10 times worse for someone else.
Exactly. Yep. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, even with like the snowstorms, please, I know in Boston, they make you shovel because you will get a ticket if you don't, but a lot of other places don't. So really, like, shoveling is another big thing, especially for our blind population, or, you know, people that have difficulty with ambulating. That's definitely something too, a small way that, yes, it might be a little inconvenient to do your whole sidewalk, and your neighbor might be lazy and not do the other sidewalk, but it's like, just do the sidewalk. You know, it might take an extra 2 minutes. It's good for you. It's the new year, you know, healthy new year. But might as well like just do it, you know, because you could really be helping somebody else immensely by just that small act.
Exactly. It may feel like an inconvenience for you for like 2 minutes, but it might save someone literally an hour or more of an inconvenience for themselves.
Yep, exactly.
And honestly, the thing is too, one of the biggest things to remember, whether it's words or actions, not everything is just a momentary impact. These things last. So when you do go out of your way to be kind, or make that little decision where you're like, oh my gosh, this is a pain, but it could help someone else, and it takes you a few extra minutes, like that could affect someone's entire like life, really.
And it really, really could.
It could. I love this. This has been awesome. I've really, truly enjoyed chatting with you like this. And I love what you do. And I'm going to keep sharing that hashtag built like this as much as I can. And I'm excited to find other ways to work together. So one of the things I want to kind of put out there before we do wrap this up is, let's talk about all of the places that we can find you, any social media handles, website, any of that information.
Okay, great. So yeah, so our website is www.biltne.org. We are on Facebook, so facebook.com/BILTInc, INC. And then Instagram, it's @BILTInc. So those are our three major platforms that we use. We're also on LinkedIn. I had actually saw earlier that you had commented that you're trying to get more into LinkedIn. I am too. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying to get better at it. So hopefully my LinkedIn will be taking off this year.
So, yeah, that's something that maybe hopefully we can help each other grow with. This has been so awesome. Like I said, I want to be one other thing before we wrap this up is I like to always give the opportunity in case I didn't ask something or if there's anything we missed, anything you might want to add.
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I was looking forward to this. This was so much fun. And if anybody, you know, is looking for any sort of workshops, any training, like I said, I do CPR first aid. So we have those classes monthly. I'm happy to come out to places. I'm happy to teach virtually. We're always accepting new individuals. We currently only have about a month wait list at this time, which is pretty good. And other than that, yeah, just follow us on social media to see what we're up to next.
That's awesome. And for those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for tuning in. Those of you who are watching this after the fact, thank you as well. And this will be available very soon because this was actually our final episode of season 1. So we're going to take a couple of weeks off from live videos because now what you're going to find are little bits and clips that you guys could actually share with other people. Because again, especially like everyone I talk to, the biggest reason I'm doing this is I want to highlight all of these incredible people throughout New England that are doing things. Honestly, it's like the thing is, let's help build up these small businesses and these nonprofits and all of the stuff that are in our community, because ultimately what you guys are doing is you're bettering our community. And yeah, it's incredible. So the more awareness we can bring to that, the better. So pretty soon you'll be able to find this on lots of different platforms. YouTube, the sound bits will be on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms and all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much. Oh, and for those of you who are watching this on one of those things, if you want to come tune in when we do these episodes live, you can come to Wicked Smart Wellness VIP. It's a group on Facebook. It's our fun little community. Everyone is welcome. And these videos, the hour-long episodes that we have, these live chats, will remain here indefinitely. So you can find all of the information and come join us. And again, thank you so much. So that's really it for today, unless there was anything else.
No, thanks very much. I had a lot of fun doing this.
No, thank you. Hashtag built like this.
Built like this.
So again, this was Christina Gravina of Christina Gravina of Bridging Independent Living Together. And I'm Amanda Marie of Wicked Smart Wellness. Stay smart, everyone.
Thanks.